Coming up on today's show.
And we were the first ones to be explaining what the cloud was.
What happened to the two tin cans and the long piece of string? I guess that doesn't work, does it?
Or I have a shopping list at home, but I'm stopping on the way home from work. I don't have that information with me, but now with the cloud, that information is actually staying on the computer.
How to stay organized in the cloud today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we're going to talk about that area up there, the cloud. We hear that term thrown around a lot, when it is involving computers, and we're going to try to demystify a little bit, talk about what the cloud is, but more importantly, how can you use the cloud to get organized? And we're going to bring on Darla DeMoro from heartworkorg.com. And Darla, welcome to Keeping You Organized.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about this cloud thing that everyone talks about when it comes to computer stuff. And I think it would be good for us to maybe demystify it and kind of describe it for those who really don't know what it is.
And that's where I like to start, because even though a lot of people are confused by what the cloud is, we've been using it our entire lives. And it's really what we used to call the phone company.
Oh, now, those phone things that people still, I think a few people still have those out there. But
yeah, a few people in your house, with the actual cord. Yeah. Well, that was the original cloud. Now, you may not know this about me, John, but I'm a salty old phone company gal myself. I worked there back in the day. And we were the first ones to be explaining what the cloud was. And I want to take just a minute to explain that to your listeners, because they're gonna get it. The light bulb's gonna go off, okay, and all these other cloud services are gonna make sense to them. Yep. So if we use the example of me trying to make a phone call from, say, New York City to LA on the other side of the country, if I pick up the phone and make that phone call, there's no single line that goes from here to there, right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the two tin cans and the long piece of string. I guess that doesn't work, does it?
Doesn't work when you're going all the way across the country. But really what happens is, and we have a graphic for this that, John, I think you're going to put up on the web version of this, but I promise, even if you don't have this graphic in front of you, you can follow along, because you can imagine that you're picking up the phone in New York City, you're making a phone call, and what's happening is that is handed off to your local phone company, and then your local phone company will hand it off to usually a long distance phone company. Now, these days, sometimes that phone company is the same company, but for a while there, they were broken up into two different companies. And then on the other end, same thing happens. The long distance phone company will hand it off to a local phone company, who eventually hands it off to the person that I'm calling in LA. Well, in the middle, that is where all the magic happens. And that's the handing off of the call from one city to the next. It might go from New York City to Philadelphia to Pittsburgh to Cleveland to Chicago, and all the way across the country, through big towns and little towns. And the cloud is really all of those handoffs. Okay. It's all the phone company offices with lots of computers transferring your call from one part of its journey to the next.
Now, I remember
we've been doing that forever.
Yeah, I remember now this thoughts coming into my mind. It's the black and white movie where the woman in the nice dress and the little headset, and she's got all these little cords she's plugging in. And then what's that old song, Pennsylvania 65000? What does that mean? Does that mean they're calling someone in Pennsylvania, and it's Is that how? So that's how it worked. That was the area code, maybe.
Yeah, actually, the area codes used to be in letters,
okay.
But that's what area codes mean. It's what part of the country you're going to.
Yeah. Well, now the internet, a lot of people don't realize, though, that the internet really is the phone system. Right now, in the olden days with just AOL, you'd use your phone and you either put it down on one of those modems, or it was built in, and you'd hear the little noises, and you'd be connected through your phone line. And then if someone was trying to call you, your phone was always busy.
Right,
right. So exactly. Kids, get off the internet, So
we're dating ourselves, John, but yes, that's exactly how it used to work.
I was the kid back then, that's what I'm saying. But anyway.
Right. But everything went, about 15 years ago, everything went from a copper-based system to fiber optics. Even if you don't know what fiber optics are, you probably know that that's what we're using these days, and that's how we can get these very fast, very, very clear calls and fast connections for our computers. And it's just the type of wiring that the computer, that the internet services and the telephone companies are using to transmit the data.
Well, you have the after graphic as well. So kind of how does that
Right.
change and look now?
Right. So it's the same basic concept, but imagine now I'm starting my phone call on my mobile phone, and I'm going to, or I have a picture on my mobile phone that I want to get someplace else. The concept is the same whether we're talking about data or a phone call here. So you're going to make a phone call on your mobile phone. It's going to hand off to your phone company. And then that may or may not be the same as your internet service provider. You may have heard the term ISP. Right. That's an internet service provider. And in some cases, that also is a phone company.
Yeah.
And then the information, whether it's a phone call or data, let's say a picture that you want to move to, say, your home computer, it's going to hop from point to point to point. And the cloud is going to be the company that is providing apps using lots of computers, usually in several locations, and they're storing your photos and data until you need them. Yep. So on the other end of this transaction, I may want to pull that photo down on my home computer that I took on my mobile phone, but somewhere in the middle, it's going to be sitting in a cloud service. It might be Apple's cloud, it might be Google's cloud, it might be Microsoft, but that's what the cloud is. It's a company that's providing apps with lots of computers where your information is being stored until you go and collect it.
Yeah, and you just picture this. There's probably these buildings with racks and racks and racks of physical computers. So there really is no air. It eventually gets down on a physical device, but they've got systems in place where they duplicate each other, or, if there's a flood in one area, there's a backup in 800 miles away in another area. So there's a lot more sophistication than just having to rely on someone else's computer. It's spread out over a larger area.
Right, and that's what the term they use is redundant. So if a data center where one of these cloud services is located is on the East Coast and we're hit by a hurricane, well, maybe that data is replicated in Colorado somewhere where they're not going to be affected by the same hurricane.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've talked a lot of tech talk here. I feel like this is about a tech show, but I think it was important in setting up what we really want to talk about, which is how to use these cloud-based tools to get organized. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dig into that. How do we use the cloud to our advantage to get organized? We're with Darla DeMoro, and we'll be right back. Now, there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life. A special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life. We're back now and keeping you organized, talking about how to use the cloud to get organized. And before the break, we kind of got into a little techie talk on how to describe what the cloud is. So sometimes it's mystical, but really the cloud is a series of computers in various places owned by different people, but it allows you to have access to other things in other places. And Darla DeMoro, heartworkorg.com, joining us to talk about, you're a professional certified professional organizer, and when the cloud came about and some of these apps started appearing, I bet that was kind of exciting because you saw a possibility on how to use this cloud to get organized. So what are some of the basics that people use?
Well, the big draw, of course, to cloud services is that it allows you to have all of your data, or all of the data that you choose, all of your important data, everywhere. So you don't have to wait until you get home to view your photos. You might be able to pick them up on your phone and show somebody, or you don't have to have things that are on your phone that you can't ever get off your phone. You can trade them up to the cloud, store them for a minute, move them over to your computer. One of the things that I use my cloud services for, I happen to use Evernote for this one, is that I can start a shopping list for the store at my desk at work, and then when I'm in the Target store or wherever I am shopping, I don't know about you, John, but when I'm shopping, there's 5 things on my list, and I get into the store and I can only ever remember 3 of them.
What were those other 2? Yes.
What were those other 2? I cannot remember. Well, if I wrote it on a sticky note and I didn't bring the sticky note with me, or I have a shopping list at home, but I'm stopping on the way home from work, I don't have that information with me. But now with the cloud, that information is actually staying on the computer that the company Evernote is maintaining. And I can get to that note that I started, whether I started it on my phone, my computer, even somebody else's computer. As long as I can log in, I can get to it.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people don't realize that they're using the cloud for things like Gmail and Hotmail and even like Google Calendar. These are all cloud-based applications. We might say, well, listen, I'm reading the email on my phone, and that email's on my phone, but it really isn't on your phone. It's on the cloud. So
exactly.
So you talked about Evernote a little bit. Let's dig into Evernote a little bit more, because I know professional organizers really like this platform.
Love it.
What are some of the real common uses of Evernote? The go-to uses of it?
Right. So Evernote's a great place to put anything that you want to remember later. In fact, their tagline is "Remember everything." Their logo's a little elephant. Elephants are supposed to never forget. Yeah. And so Evernote's a great tool because, unlike email, where really the only thing you can do with email is you can either store it or forward it, right?
Right.
But with Evernote, you can add to a note over and over and over again. You can add different things to it. So when I'm planning a trip, I may add in, I may take an email with my information about the flight and forward it into Evernote. But then I can add into that maybe a web address that somebody told me, a monument that I need to go and visit while I'm on this trip, or maybe snap a picture of a page of a book that has some information about what I want to do when I get there. Or I can even put a voice memo right in that same note. And when I get to my destination or when I'm traveling, I have all of that information with me. It's not trapped somewhere in my email, and God knows it's not lost in the email, right? Yeah. I can get right into Evernote. I can search for the details of my trip, and there they are.
Now, is there, just speaking of email, is there a way, like say you're in Microsoft Outlook and you want to, this is an important email, it's got maybe an address in it. How do you save that to Evernote? Is there like a plug-in or something, or do you have to literally copy and paste it?
Oh, that's one of the nicest things about Evernote is I can actually just forward it right to my Evernote account. It's a little bit of magic in the back end, but essentially they've given me a unique email address for my Evernote account. And so I can just, from my regular email, I can forward something right in there, and it becomes a new note in Evernote. It's really a handy, one of my favorite cloud services.
Now, what about searching? So say, okay, I need to know where that graduation party is. Maybe you don't remember which note you put it in. Is there a global search where you could just type in graduation party and then hit search, and it'll show you all the different notes that it's in?
Yeah. That is actually one of the strengths of Evernote, is it has a very, very powerful internal search. And in fact, it does a search better than some computers do, because it'll even search inside the content of PDFs.
Okay.
And if you ever know anything about PDFs, usually most programs are only reading the title, but they can't see inside the content. And with Evernote, it actually does what's called optical character recognition, or OCR, and it'll do that very deep search for you.
Okay, well, when we talk about getting organized, a lot of times we talk about to-do lists, which I'm sure Evernote's good at. We talk about calendars, but how about projects? Project management is a whole art in itself, and you know that as a certified professional organizer. Is Evernote the go-to for that, or is there other apps that maybe would work well for project management?
I have used Evernote for project management, but the one I'm using lately that I really like is called Asana,
Okay.
Asana. And it's a very clever project management tool. You can use it if you're just a one-person business, or you can use it for complex projects, maybe even just a hobby that you're working on. But you can also use it for business management if you have a team. And my team and I use Asana on a daily basis.
Now, how does that differ from Evernote? What's the the functionality differences between it? Is it a project file plus? I mean, how does it work?
So I think Evernote adds more of sticky notes in the sky.
Okay.
So I think of Evernote as a great place to park information and then move it around or be able to search it quickly if I need it. Asana, on the other hand, lets me create projects with lots of little tasks that are embedded, and then I can go in and update the tasks, and I can end up with a board that really looks like sticky notes, specifically about this project. And then I can portion out different projects, and I can invite certain people to the projects, and they can update the tasks within an Asana board that I've assigned them to, but they don't have to see everything. So again, in a team like mine where I have employees who only need to see certain things, it's great.
Right. Well, we're just about out of time. If people want to get a hold of you to find out more about getting organized using the cloud, is that a service you provide, and how do people get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You can reach us at heartworkorg.com. We are based in the Philadelphia area, but we have clients all over the country. And we do work virtually to help people understand what their technology is doing for them and how they can maximize it. And we do work with clients to help them understand what apps they have or can use or maybe need to be more productive in their day.
Well, that's great. We'll have your contact information in the show notes. And folks, make sure you join us next time. We'll finish up this conversation on how to use the cloud to get organized. We'll talk about more apps you can use, and we'll do that next time on Keeping You Organized.